والآن نبدأ بالمحور الأول للمؤتمر، وهو أفضل الممارسات لمنظومة الابتكار. وليتفضل الأستاذ مؤنس شجاع المدير التنفيذي لشركة القفازي للزيوت البترولية لإدارة الجلسة. تفضل دكتور.
الصوت واضح؟
اي نعم، صوت واضح، شكرا.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Hanadi Mbaraki, for inviting me to this unique conference. We will start now. Mr. Joy Bisash, Director IB Business Division from Switzerland. You are most welcome, Mr. Bisash.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. I will try to share my screen for the PowerPoint, unless it can be shared by here. Let me see. Can you see my slides?
Yes, go ahead. Hi, Professor Guy. Hi.
Okay, thank you. So good day, everyone, and I'm very much indebted for the invitation, and also to Dr. Al-Mubaraki for facilitating my participation. My name is Guy Pesach. I'm the director of the IP for Business Division at the World Intellectual Property Organization in Geneva. And I would like to dedicate my time to tell you a little bit about what we do, but I'm just trying to move the slides, and for some reason, okay, so yeah, it's moving. To tell you a little bit about our work, the motivation behind it. So if I need to summarize in one sentence, the goal of the IP for Business Division is to function as a one-stop shop to support SMEs, startups, and businesses in better utilizing the IP system for their business success and economic growth. And in order to understand the importance of this objective, we need to take one step backwards and begin with what I may say is not just an observation, but also an axiom. SMEs are practically a crucial, fundamental component in the process of economic development. In most countries of the world, they occupy a significant portion of the economic activity, overall around 90% of businesses, and they also employ more than 50% of the total occupation. Now, the second prerequisite observation is that we are in the process of moving towards the intangible economy. In other words, our capital base is constantly changing from hard assets into tangible assets. Back in the 70s, approximately in total, 10–20% of companies' market value was of intangibles, whereas today, as the figure shows, in some cases, in total, it reaches more than 90% of companies' market value. So the scope, scale, and weight of intangible intensive companies constantly increases. And reality is complex. It's complex in terms of the fact that on the one hand, we do know that companies and SMEs that rely and use the IP system better perform. The data is in front of you on the slide. Yet on the other hand, today, in most countries, be it developed or developing countries, SMEs and businesses are still underutilizing the IP system. For example, in the European Union, only less than 10% of the SMEs register their IP rights, and when you break it into patents, trademarks, and designs, the numbers are even smaller. So if we need to summarize and take a snapshot of reality, reality constantly moves towards an intangible economy. IP assets, reliance on the IP system is crucial for SMEs and businesses to perform and succeed in an intangible economy, but the current contemporary reliance on the IP system is still not sufficient. And the goal of the IP for Business division is practically to overcome this gap and reach a reality in which we close the gap between the potential contribution of the IP system and the de facto utilization and reliance of the IP system by businesses and SMEs. And how do we aim to reach this goal? What are the division's key strategies? So there are three key strategies. The first key strategy is to understand that if we want to operate in the business realms, we need to speak the language of business, meaning we need to come with user-friendly, business-oriented tools that introduce the value of the IP system to SMEs and develop their skills in using the IP system. I'll give an example in a few minutes. The second dimension, which is extremely important for WIPO, which at the end of the day is one international organization located in one specific location, is that in order to work on the ground and in order to make IP work for SMEs all across the globe, regardless of their location or their sectorial orientation, we need to partner with entities and institutions within member states. In other words, building networks of partners and partnerships is crucial in order to have an impact. And the last dimension is to understand that making an impact requires us to build up the evidence base that is essential in order to understand the current gaps, understand the specificities of sectors and industries, and make the connection between these specificities and the IP system. Now, going back to my introductory words, why is IP important? How can you maximize your potential via the IP system? So there are various dimensions. Just to mention a few of them, the IP enables a company to secure a competitive advantage. IP enables a company to obtain visibility in crowded markets via branding and the utilization of a company's trademark. IP, within the right conditions, can also better enable companies to access financing and attract inventors. We all know that access to finance is one of the main challenges that SMEs face all across the globe. How can intangible intents companies access to finance? How can they leverage their IP rights and intangible asset portfolio in order to access financing? Here, all IP has a role, and I'll get into the details in a few minutes. IP is also a source of competitive intelligence. If you know how to use the IP registries and IP databases, such as patent databases, you can better understand the market realms and the landscape you work within. You can better understand what your competitors are doing. You can better understand how you can develop your own specific niche. And IP is also crucial in order to avoid and mitigate risks, for example, by unknowingly or unintentionally using the IP assets of a third party. Now, within our division, we have a menu of programs and services which are aimed to better introduce the IP system to SMEs and businesses. The slide in front of you outlines some of these programs and services. I won't go over all of them, but I'll just focus on 2 or 3 to give you an example on the way we work. So one example is the program or the service of the development of business support units within national IP offices. National IP offices, the main function, at least historically, was to be the registries of the IP rights. In other words, function as a state-based entity through which patents are registered both locally and also internationally via the international registries. Same thing for trademarks, designs, in several countries, also copyright. But we are in an era in which national IP offices also transform, and they take upon themselves additional responsibilities and objectives to promote national innovation ecosystems. And the project on the development of business support units within national IP offices is aimed to work together with national IP offices and build up their skills, develop a unit which will be dedicated to work with businesses and SMEs and to better guide them throughout the maze of the IP system. We have additional programs, for example, the Inventor Assistance Program, which is a program, again, via focal points within national IP offices, which is a pro bono program that matches inventors, which at times are absent of the required financial resources, and pro bono lawyers that work together with them in order to enable them to bring their innovation to market, draft and file patents on their inventions. And maybe, and let me just see, I do want to give you some sort of a more concrete example of what we are doing. So just to give you one example, the slide in front of you mentions some of the tools that the division is developing. So one tool is the WhitePaw IP diagnostics tool. You have the link and the QR for the tool in front of you. I'll also share it via the chat box later on. This is a tool which is accessible in all UN languages and additional languages, in which a business, an individual, an entrepreneur practically follows a set of questions online and then obtains a personalized, tailor-made report about the specific dimensions in which IP can be relevant for its own particular company. This tool is now also being translated to additional languages, customized to specific legal systems, specific localities, and also to specific sectors and industries. And it also functions throughout the various support programs that I have mentioned. We have a series of guides, which is part of the IP for Business guides, which are aimed also to introduce the IP system for entrepreneurs and businesses. The recent published guide is Enterprising Ideas, which is a guide for startups and focuses on the interface between startups and the IP system. Here you have the QR code for this guide. And before closing, maybe just some reference to a recent initiative that we are developing. I have mentioned that among the various benefits of the IP system is access to finance. I have also mentioned the challenges that SMEs face in accessing finance. The data in this slide just demonstrates the current financial gap. More than 65 million firms, more than 40% of the SMEs still face challenges in accessing capital, altogether a gap of $5.2 trillion. And the question is, how do we overcome this gap, specifically in a reality that intangible intensive companies usually lack hard assets that the financial system and banks are willing to take as collaterals against loans? How do we enable these companies that lack hard assets also to obtain the financing that they need? This is a new focus of the World Intellectual Property Organization, and we have just launched an action plan that is aimed to better tackle the financial gap that intangible intensive companies face, and to find schemes and modalities in which IP rights and intangible assets can function as a source of financing via a variety of ways, such as debt finance and the use of IP assets as collaterals, IP securitization, equity, and venture capital. I think that given the time limitation, I will stop here. I thank you again, and I very much look forward for your questions.
Thank you, Professor Bisaj. Could you please, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Monis Shujaa, Executive Director, Falgafari for Oils Petroleum. First of all, I apologize about my voice because I feeling a little tired nowadays. But I cannot actually miss this conference. I will start now. Let me share my screen. Please confirm it's clear. You can see. Hello? Hello?
تفضل دكتور مؤنس تفضل.
Okay.
دكتور مؤنس Professor Pasaid, you finalize all your presentation. You have 20 minutes. Still you have time.
If I still have time, I can definitely, I'll just open the PowerPoint again and I'll be happy.
Yes, please. Yes, please. You are value added presentation. You are from the WIPO.
So I will be very
as the leading
happy
organizations in the innovations.
By all means, thank you. And I will be very happy because just give me half a minute to open the presentation again and to share the screen. It will take me just 1 minute with your permission. And I'll be very happy. How much more time do I have?
Go ahead, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, so I will share the screen and just 1 more minute with your permission. Just a minute. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you. So again, thanks, and I will just, I'm just trying to move to the slides, and by all means, yes. So again, if you allow me, I will now go back to our programs and services and take the additional time that I have to share with you some of our other programs and services, and maybe, you know, cover the entire menu of programs and services together with you. So I've mentioned the development of business support units within national IP offices. Another program that we have is the program of the Effective Intermediaries program. And this program also rests upon the assumption that in order to make an impact, we need to partner with effective local entities. So the Effective SMEs Intermediaries program is a program in which we identify, usually together with the National IP Office, specific intermediaries and support institutions within a nation state that SMEs rely upon and trust upon, but they do not necessarily provide support in the context of the IP dimension. I'll give you just a few examples. Think about incubators, accelerators, national innovation authorities and agencies, Chamber of Commerce. These are all entities that work within a national innovation ecosystem. They provide support in a variety of areas, from product development, marketing, financing that we have mentioned, text planning, and many other elements. They do not always deal with the IP dimension. And the essence of this program is that the tools and service and materials that I've mentioned, such as the IP diagnostic tool or the IP for Business guides, we work together with the effective intermediary to develop a unique package that deals with the IP dimension, that we then train the staff, the people of the effective intermediary to use and work with SMEs on the ground level. So just imagine an innovation authority that entrepreneurs and startups reach out to obtain funding. The model is that when they reach out to obtain funding, and when they get funding, practically the entity tells them, look, in the corridor there is another door, that's the IP door. Please knock on the IP door, and then you will get more guidance and support how you can rely upon the IP system. And just to make things more concrete, so if you recall correct, when we spoke about the key strategies of the division, we spoke about the fact that we need to build an evidence-based that will be the basis for the support that we provide. So this support is efficient and responsive to the needs of the startups or SMEs. So I'll give you just one example how we combine the key strategies with the programs that we have. So when we speak about the Effective Intermediaries program, if we work with a national innovation authority or a national innovation agency, so what we do is also a combination of an empirical and a qualitative study. We identify specific sectors, and via a sample of companies, we try to better understand their current filing strategies. Do they use the patent filing system? Do they file for patent? Do they file for patent beyond domestic markets? Do they use the PCT system? What is their trademark strategy? And after this data is collected, we follow up with a qualitative stage in which we conduct person-to-person interviews with the startups in order to better understand how they perceive and see the IP system. For example, do they see patent filing as something that will better enable them to attract investors? This data, including the qualitative dimension, is collected and analyzed. And based on the findings, we can better tailor a program of support that is built upon the current gaps within a certain national ecosystem. So the key strategy is intertwined into the program. The secret is to have good local partners that know the state and conditions, provide us the ability to reach out for SMEs, to identify SMEs from a specific sector, and then based on these findings, we tailor our support. Another program which we have launched recently is the IP Management Clinic. The IP Management Clinics is practically a 4-month journey in which, again, together with the local partner, we bring together a selected number of companies, usually in between 15 to 30. And in a journey of 4 months, we work together with these companies in order to assist them in developing their own specific IP management strategy. So this is a journey in which combines bilateral one-to-one meetings between the company and IP management experts, along with intervals in which the companies are brought together to enrich their knowledge in specific areas that are communal to all the selected companies. The process usually ends with a joint event, a public event in which the companies make a pitch that demonstrates how now they plan to better rely upon the IP system. And we also follow up with these companies after 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months to see if something has been changed in their reliance upon the IP system. The clinics can be sector-based for specific sectors, and then they can bring together companies from different countries or from a specific region. And they can also be a country specific, just to give you some sense of the nature of the sectors that we focus on. So for example, this year's clinic had focused on the sustainable fashion sector. The year before, we focused on green technologies. In 2023, we are expected to have an IP management clinic on companies that are AI oriented, meaning companies that either produce and generate or are heavily relied upon artificial intelligence oriented technologies. In this slide, you see the process of the effective intermediaries program that I have just mentioned. And as you can see that at the end of the day, the key for successful implementation lies in having a structured process that we follow, identifying the effective intermediary, the beneficiary institution, selecting local experts. One thing that I did not mention is that throughout our entire portfolio of companies, of projects and programs, we always not just work together with the local partner, but we always emphasize the importance of teaming up with local experts that provide the ability to better understand the localities of the country, both from the legal and from the business dimension. Business support units, I've already mentioned, that's the project that we do within national IP offices. Again, the structure and the process are key. In this context, the goal is that at the end of the day, the IP office will have a functioning unit that provides the ability to support local SMEs. These are the IP management clinics. Again, you can see the process. We begin by identifying the companies, then we select experts. Experts, again, will be a combination of local experts, international experts that focus on going beyond domestic markets, and also business experts that are not lawyers, that are not IP attorneys, but add the business dimension for the specific sector. Going back to the IP and finance dimension, and adding up some more details. So this is a project that we have begun working on approximately a year and a half ago. And if I need to summarize the situation in one sentence, I would say that it bears a huge unfulfilled potential. In other words, currently, IP-backed financing, meaning the use of IP assets as a source of financing, is still on the margins. It is on the margins all across the globe, including developed countries. You can hardly find a country economy that fully utilizes intangible assets as a source of financing. So what we have done in the past year and a half is a process that includes two dimensions. The first dimension is an attempt to landscape the situation in different countries. This is what we call the Country Reports Project. It's a project in which, again, in collaboration with national IP offices, we produce reports that take stocks of the current situation on how IP rights and IP assets are used as a source of financing. This project currently covers approximately 12 countries. One report on Singapore was already published, and we have additional reports to be published soon in the pipeline. The second element that we focused on is to try and understand why this gap exists. What are the reasons that intangible intensive companies are still not able to use their intangible assets portfolio as a source of financing? What are the reasons that financial institutions are not so willing, are practically at times reluctant to take IP assets as collaterals? And how can we overcome this current gap? So when we deal with the challenges, one can identify several main challenges that need to be overcome and met. And I'll just, the slide mentions them and I'll go over them very briefly. These challenges practically identify the difference between hard assets and intangible assets and the journey that we need to make. So the first thing is that currently valuing intangible assets is still hard. It's easy to come up with a valuation of your real estate assets, of other tangible assets. It's much harder to put a price to a patent or to a trademark or to a company that is heavily reliant on the intangible assets. There are a variety of reasons why valuing intangible assets is hard. One reason is that accounting rules, to a large degree, still do not tend to reflect intangible assets within financial reports. Another reason is that we still lack a global standard that comes up with an agreeable mechanism to do IP valuations. There are different methodologies, different modalities. Some of them are context-based, but we lack a common language. And if we lack a common language, it's hard to put a price to intangibles. And additionally, intangibles have a strong element of variability at the end of the day. Each patent is different, each trademark is different. Sometimes it's hard to isolate the intangible.
Excuse me, Professor Guy.
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt you. Would you mind to be wrap up, because the session will be ending soon, and there are two presenters waiting.
Definitely. So
yes, you do a great job.
Definitely, yes. So I won't go into the details. I'll wrap up. The only thing that I will close with is that we just held on November 1st the first high-level conversation on IP-backed financing. The entire event was recorded. It is accessible via the IP4Business website. And if you go into the website, you will also have the ability to access and download our recent publication on IP-backed financing of intangibles, which presents not only some of the issues that I have dealt with, but also a more rich and structured analysis of this topic. And I thank you for your time, invitation, and attentiveness.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Accept our apology, Dr. Mu'nis Shuja'. I think Dr. Ghanem is joined. Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Ghanem is. You can start your presentation, Dr. Shuja'.
I will start now.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My presentation today about the enhancing the virtual and traditional services for innovation and entrepreneurship. We are aiming to make a model for engagement all in venture and the government or the SME sectors together. Let us start. I will share my screen. Now, the main sectors provided the services, we can divide it by 4 categories. The first is government, the second semi-government, and the private sector, and the remuneration entities. Why we should provide this service?
Excuse me, Dr. Mu'nis, can you check please your audio, because there are a voice coming parallel with your voice. مخالف تأكد من الصوت، تغلق الأصوات اللي عندك لأنها قاعدة تأثر عليك.
طيب. ما زال في صوت ولا بس صوتي أنا؟ لا أنا صوتي الآن مش كويس يعني.
تفضل تفضل.
بقرب المايك شوي. Okay, why we should provide these services? Because the global competition and the knowledge economy, also the investment in mental organisms and leading the global marketing, all this also introducing, increasing the SMEs and the GDP. All this can support the KSA Vision 2030. Let's skip this one. To enhance the services, I will explain this model. I think we need to put all these marketing studies and in one database. That means anyone looking for, let's call for an angel investor, he will get access to that database and searching about what's the opportunity are there. Okay, because of that, a lot, as you know, about 70 or up to 80% from the innovation cannot product because economic visibility. See, my point is now to put the marketing studies and exchanging and put the opportunities together in one database to help people from both sides, the investor, but also the invention can put the, all data and searching on it. Anytime you can access to this is big for this data, and searching what's the who can investment in this product.
دكتور مؤنس, I don't want to turn, تقدر تتكلم بالعربي إذا حاب تتكلم بالعربي أسرع, لأن في بعد بريزنتر وراك واللي يحب في قناة الترجمة. Please audience, ما يخالف تبي تتكلم عربي؟
لا ما فيش, بكمل بس أنا مش تعبان شوي بس.
يلا تفضل.
Let us go to the second. Enhancing innovation services, activate the innovation strategy through the CSR programs of large company. I mean, if we the large companies, SMEs, all the semi-governments can both enhancing people by strategy for using CSR program. The second thing, building database and exchanging the information and the updates between the main providers of innovation services. This is what I mean. I mentioned before, because of this, this database, it's very important to what we call it, the historical for each one, each innovational ideas or products. Someone looking for to invest in it, he can log to this database and start from there. This is the one of the unique idea about the open source software that is contributed by the public of the professional and amateur as work, and we have two examples here, Linux and Canva. Let us back to Canva. See, Canva is it's created by open source people. Now it's worth about $40 billion US. This Canva, so anyone can access, and I think it's for design. If I remember, I'm not wrong. This is the example for open source data. The final thing, introducing the award for the innovation. Like James, there is an award, an example. This is encourage people to invention and competition for get this awards. This is the main four ideas. I think, in my opinion, I believe it's can enhance improvement the services and help the venture also and entrepreneurship to start product their services or their products.
Excuse me, Dr. Mu'nis, I don't want to interrupt you. Would you mean please to wrap up within one minute, please? Because there are
I'm finished. That's it. This is the final.
Yes. We will present now the last presenter, Dr. Ghanem Kashwani, the first charter engineers in the UAE. Would you mind, please, Dr. Ghanem, to present yourself?
Yeah, okay. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thanks a lot for hosting me. Is it my voice clear?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I will share my screen. And first of all, thanks a lot, for hosting me. And since we are talking about innovation today, I'm more than happy to talk about the circular economy. I believe that my background is in civil engineering and construction. So today I will talk about circular economy and why I believe it is the innovation platform in this era. So what's circular economy? So if we compare it by the conventional and the linear economy, that the idea of circular economy that we don't have waste. And honestly speaking, I don't believe in the word waste. I believe in word byproduct. Because if you go to the nature, in the nature we have something called biomimicry. There's no such thing called waste. It's just byproduct. But in the linear economy, the consumption economy, we have usually waste. And this is one of the challenges in the construction. So we talk about innovation. So how circular economy can solve that? So from linear to circular economy doesn't happen in one shot. It takes stages. The first stage that we saw, it was the linear economy with the raw materials. And let's emphasize in the word raw materials, because I believe the most important aspect in the circular economy is the raw material. As you can see here on the left side, we have raw material, then production, then it goes to the use, then we go to the waste. Then after that, we hear the word recycling. Many people say about recycling. And let's correct this stereotype. Recycling is good. I'm not against recycling, but it is not the best option. Many people believe recycling is the best option. No, recycling is the last best option, because we have reuse, and this is the circular economy, that to have full utilization. As you can see in the circular economy, we have raw material, production, use, and recycling, and the circle is complete. So let's put it again. As I said, in the circular economy, the secret word here is to keep use. And as you can see on the right side, that in the circular economy, we have use. So we have reuse, repair, recycle, repair, and all goes in the one word, which is use. And this is exactly what we want in the circular economy. So let's go back to the construction industry. And as you know, it's all about the built environment, البيئة العمرانية. When we start the circular economy and when start the innovation, as you know, the construction industry emitted around 8% of CO2 emission only by cement, and 8% by the steel, and around 40% due to all the activity. So it's very important that we have the circular economy from the design stage. And I usually say that, and when it comes for the green construction, we need to focus on 3D: durability, ductility, and assembly. And after that, now in the construction with the new technology, we heard about the modular construction or offsite fabrication, like 3D printing, and this is considered kind of innovation that can help in the circular economy. Then in the operation, I'm happy to share this information that most of the revenue of construction industry is happening through maintenance and operation, not through the construction. So this is very important to have a smart maintenance. And one of the examples that you can use innovation is using sensors, because by using sensors, instead, if we have prevention maintenance or reactive maintenance, we are having real-time maintenance. Also in the demolition, now there is many methods that we have in construction, but I prefer to use the smart way. And there is a way that it's called the Japanese way, and there is a famous video on YouTube, you can see it, it's disassemble. And instead of this construction or use the old way, and we have a lot of waste, we can use the smart way, and we can use the recycle aggregate and recycle steel to the new project. But it is very important now to know the different definitions. We talk about innovation, but we need to know exactly in sustainability. There is different definitions of circularity, climate neutrality, حياد المناخي, zero pollution or not zero, or even safe sustainability. All these things have many things in common, but it doesn't mean the same. So when I say circularity, doesn't mean that it means sustainability. Circular economy, if it doesn't use in the right manner, doesn't mean that we are using sustainability in the right way. So we need to differentiate this, and this is very important. So now we talk about green economy, circular economy, and bioeconomy. As I said, different people, they do different terminology. But since the innovation, we need to focus on the clean tech and the clean market. And this is usually my advice. If you want any initiative, innovation to flourish in the applied research, we need to create a market in it. And this is the example of clean tech, that we need to focus in the circular economy. And we can see that in UAE, we have heavily invested in clean tech like Masdar City and solar energy, because we are a hydrocarbon country, but yet we need to have alternative sources of energy. And this is applied exactly also in the construction.
Excuse me, Dr. Ghanem. I don't want to interrupt you. Would you mind, please, to wrap up? You have less than 2 minutes.
Yeah. So now in the business model, it is very important now, especially for startups. My advice: don't sell your product only in sustainable model. Also use the circular business model. It's very important because the capital ventures, the venture, now they really attracted by the word circular economy, especially in the GCC area. So focus to sell your product in the circular economy. As you said, circular economy is not something new. They have some project like now in the clothes industry and the fashion industry. We can use it in bigger scale like construction industry. Circular economy, we have certain of KPI that we can use it, credit to creditor. EPD, I'm highly advise people to start from EPD, environmental product declaration for the construction industry. It doesn't cost anything, and it's very straightforward. And life cycle assessment and life cycle costing. There is benefit for circular economy, definitely. We are creating a market, a job market, and there is a reduction, and we are shifting from linear to circular economy. But with the challenge, the circular economy, it is very complex. Why? We have very communication channels, and we need to be very efficient in communication, especially in fragmented industry like construction. And we don't have qualified, we don't have professional certificate in circular economy. It is not like we have chartered accountant or professional engineer or chartered. We need more professional / academic certification in circular economy. Last slide, that now in UAE we have a council in circular economy, and currently we have 7 areas of direction we are moving, and we have more of different stakeholder collaboration like industry, government authority.
Excuse me, Dr. Ghanem.
Thanks a lot, and the reference is available.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for attending.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ghanem. Thank you for all the speakers for this first track, the best practitioners, the best practices of innovation ecosystem.